For several days in a row, half of the glide bombs or KABs that Russia produces have been arriving in Kursk region. This demonstrates that Russian dictator Vladimir Putin wants to drive the Ukrainian Armed Forces out of this territory at any cost. This was stated by military expert, former spokesman for the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Vladislav Seleznev, on air at Kiev 24. He noted that large-scale attacks by the Russian army in the Sudzha area are currently ongoing, including the use of artillery and aviation. For several days in a row, 50% or more of Russian KABs have been flying not to the territory of our country, but to the territory of the Kursk region. Sudzha and the suburbs, first of all, suffer because Russian pilots drop KABs weighing 250, 500 and more kilograms precisely on the sovereign territory of the Russian Federation, the expert said. In his opinion, this once again underlines that Putin absolutely does not care about the so-called collateral damage. It is important for him to achieve certain results. Under such conditions, he doesn't care how many civilians in the Kursk region, Russians, will die, how many buildings and infrastructure will be destroyed. It is important to him that certain results are achieved by any means, Seleznev said. According to him, Putin does not take into account the losses of North Korean soldiers who are being used as assault fodder in Kursk. In just over a month, the North Korean army, its cell, that is involved in the Kursk operation, has lost up to 4,000 people. This is a high level of losses, and not because the North Korean servicemen are incapable, clumsy, ineffective, but because the Russian General Staff uses them in this way, a kind of assault fodder that dies during the very first battle, Seleznev noted. Thus, he noted, the Russian army previously used former prisoners and fighters from the private military company Wagner also fought in the same way. Well, the time has come for the North Korean military. They attack, try to take certain lines and positions, and if they succeed, Russian military personnel enter in their place. If not, then more and more groups of North Korean military personnel are sent to their deaths, explained the former General Staff representative. At the same time, Seleznev emphasized, North Korean servicemen should not be underestimated because they adapt to modern combat conditions quite quickly and have already repeatedly demonstrated their dexterity in countering Ukrainian FPV drones. They find options and ways to be effective enough in this confrontation. Therefore, I would not risk believing that North Korean soldiers are incapable. Excellent physical training, incredible level of motivation, they are ready to die for their idol and leader, he explained.
Tulsi Gabbard moved a step closer to being the next Director of National Intelligence Monday after the U.S. Senate advanced her nomination to a final vote planned for later this week. According to Associated Press, the Senate could hold its final vote on confirming Gabbard as soon as Wednesday following Monday's 52-46 procedural vote to end debate on her nomination, which fell along party lines. Created following the September 11, 2001 attacks, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence oversees and coordinates the work of 18 intelligence agencies. A former Democratic congresswoman, Gabbard is one of President Donald Trump's most contentious nominees, given her past comments sympathetic to Edward Snowden and Russia and a meeting with Syria's now-deposed leader. With strong Democratic opposition and only a thin Republican majority, almost all GOP senators will need to vote yes for her to win confirmation. Gabbard's chances greatly improved last week after some Republican lawmakers who had expressed concerns about her affirmed their support in the face of a pressure campaign mounted by Trump allies including Elon Musk.
Madam President, as both a military officer and policymaker, Ms. Gabbard has been a consumer of intelligence. She knows that good decisions depend on having the best information. And she knows that the cost of bad information is measured in lives lost. Madam President, in recent years there have been some significant intelligence failures. And these failures aren't confined to one agency or one part of the world. The intelligence community needs to refocus on its core mission, collecting intelligence and providing unbiased analysis of that information. That's what Tulsi Gabbard is committed to ensuring if she is confirmed to be DNI. And I believe she has the knowledge and leadership capabilities to get it done. I was also very pleased to hear Ms. Gabbard say at her hearing that Section 702 is, and I quote, essential for our national security, end quote. This foreign intelligence collection program is a key tool used to identify threats to Americans at home and abroad, and I was glad to hear Ms. Gabbard acknowledge its importance. I was also pleased that Ms. Gabbard intends to prosecute leakers to the full extent of the law. In a day and age when anything and everything ends up on the internet, it is essential that we have zero tolerance for those who deliberately compromise classified information, and we must safeguard our sensitive sources and intelligence collection methods.
Madam President.
The Senator from Virginia.
Madam President, are we in a quorum call?
We are.
Madam President, I ask that the proceedings for quorum be vitiated.
Without objection.
We need leaders in the intelligence community and throughout government who are prepared to stand up to those short-sighted attempts to attack our workforce at the expense of our national security. Unfortunately, I don't believe Ms. Gabbard is such a leader. Nor is she well suited by dint of experience or judgment to serve as Director of National Intelligence. The DNI is a position of great importance and significance to our national security. Ms. Gabbard has also been publicly outspoken in her praise and defense of Edward Snowden, someone who betrayed the trust and jeopardized the security of our nation. The vast majority of the information he stole and leaked before, I would mind you, he ran off to hightail in both China and Russia. Most of this information, I can assure you, had nothing to do with America's primacy, but did compromise our nation's most sensitive collection sources and methods.
The question is it the sense of the Senate that debate on the nomination of Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii to be the Director of National Intelligence shall be brought to a close? The yeas and nays are mandatory under the rule. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Cassidy, aye. Mrs. Murray, Mr. Hawley, aye.
The yeas are 52, the nays are 46. The motion is agreed to.
The soldiers of the invading Russian army wanted to use an original method to strike at the Ukrainian fighters. To do this, they loaded a KAMAZ military truck with explosives and sent it to the Ukrainian army's position in a forest strip. The footage taken by the Russian military was shared on Telegram channels. The truck, which was sent without a driver, exploded halfway before reaching its destination. As a result of the powerful explosion, a large crater was created in the area.